Welcome. English First Language Part 2. 7th Standard, Unit 7, A Tribute to Netaji, Part 1. 2024-2025 Karnataka State Board Syllabus. A. Today reading activity reading, listening and speaking. Read this passage at home before your teacher narrates it to you in the class. Listen carefully to all that he or she says and then answer her questions. In the late 30s and early 40s of last century, we fought for our freedom. Two great leaders inspired us to fight: Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi and Subhash Chandra Bose. Each led us in this own way. Bose asked Indians to give him their blood and he would give them freedom. Gandhi promised freedom without violence. Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs adored Subhas and joined the Indian National Army in thousands. They called him Netaji. Women knew how Netaji held them in the high regard. The two joined the Jhansi Lakshmibai regiment under the leadership of the fairy and beautiful Lakshmi Swaminathan. It was an all women army. The now very popular Jai Hind and Dilli Chalo were their war cry. When the British put on trial three INA officers, Shah Nawaz, a Muslim, Sahagal, a Hindu, and Dhillon, a Sikh, India exploded in wrath. Nehru said on 24 December 1945, the INA trial has created a mass upheaval. Sir Claude Auchinleck, the British commander-in-chief, said that Indians adored the INA and its officers as national heroes. This is the general opinion held in India, not only by public, but by quite a considerable part of the Indian army as well. In an article published in 15th February 1946, Gandhi said, "The hypnotism of Indian National Army has cast a spell on us. The lesson that Netaji and his army bring to us is one of self-sacrifice, unity irrespective of class and community and discipline." 4 months before that, on August 18, 1945, Subhas had died in an accident in which his plane had caught fire. B. Reading. Read the passage at home and then follow carefully your teacher's model reading in class. Keep reading at home again and again. In the history of India's freedom struggle, the place of Subhas Chandra Bose is unique. He was the leader who thought of fighting the brute force of the British by armed force. He had a wonderful organizing capacity. He could raise a modern army of about 75,000 women and men and women. He inspired them with intense patriotism, fervor, and a burning desire to free their enslaved motherland. Second one, Subhash Chandra Bose belonged to an educated and prosperous family. He was educated in England, Cambridge, and had traveled widely all over Europe. He looked at India from an international perspective as he had a deeply spiritual nature. His quest for truth and the right guru had taken him to each and every corner of the country. At last, he made up his mind and to follow the teaching of Swami Vivekananda and Aurobindo Ghosh in the spiritual sphere, and Deshbandhu Chittaranjan Das in politics. Subhash Chandra had a special regard for his Muslim countrymen. Some of his ancestors, like Mahipati Bose and Gopalnath Bose, had held the offices of minister and naval commanders under the Muslim rulers of Bengal. The quarters in which we lived, says the Bose in autobiography, was prominently a Muslim one, and our neighbors were mostly Muslims. I cannot remember ever to have looked upon Muslims as different from ourselves in any way, except that they go to pray in a mosque. Subhas was born at Cuttack, Odisha on January 23rd, 1897. His father, Janakinath Bose, was a famous lawyer. Bose was a brilliant student. He had a very broad minded views on freedom and other social issues, and his hungry soul was not satisfied with the textbooks alone. Describing his childhood, he said, in my infancy, I was brought into touch with the English people, English education, and English culture. After that, I went back to our culture, both classical and modern. Bose had a rebellious and independent spirit, and that was apparent from his earliest days. In the Presidency College, Calcutta, he organized the students' strike to demonstrate against an English professor who had insultingly pushed away an Indian student. For this, Bose was expelled from the college. After a year, he was allowed to join the Scottish Church College in Calcutta, where he secured a first class in the BA examination. The Subhas left for England on September 15, 1999, in order to study and appear at the Indian Civil Service (ICS) examination. After a year, he came out successfully and stood fourth in the order of merit. But his conscience would not allow him to serve the alien ruler even as a high executive. So he resigned from the ICS and returned to India. Now, Bose wanted to chalk out the future course of his life. He had long discussions with Mahatma Gandhi and C.R. Das. He took Das as his mentor and settled down as principal of the National College at Calcutta. But Bose gave up his job when Gandhiji started the non cooperation movement. He was arrested by British for joining the movement. After his release, Bose formed the Swaraj Party and was appointed the editor of the party's journal Forward. Bose became the executive officer of the Calcutta Corporation in 1924 and gained the valuable experience of planning and practical administration. Soon the activities of the Swaraj Party were found unbearable by the British, on account of which Bose was in and out of jail repeatedly and fell ill many times. Bose was a great thinker as well as a man of vision and action. So Bose made such an impact on the Congress that he was elected twice as a president of Indian National Congress in 1938 and 39 for the two sessions he held at Haripura, Gujarat, and Tripura. In his presidential address, he talked not only of the freedom but also of reconstruction, the need for planning by setting up a planning commission, and of gradual specialization of the entire agriculture and industrial system. He urged strongly that it was the right time to give an ultimatum to the British government for complete Swaraj. The Britain was engaged in the World War, and so Gandhiji and Nehru were of opinion that Congress should not take advantage of Britain's difficulties. But Bose had strong views and advocated total freedom. He traveled throughout the country to organize public opinion against the war effort. So he was arrested on July 2nd, 1940 at Madras, and on November 26, 1940, Bose went on hunger strike to protest against the ill treatment of the prisoners, as his condition suddenly worsened. He was released but was kept under police surveillance. Was escaped from the British and reached Kabul, and from there he went to Berlin via Moscow. The whole country was thrilled when his voice was heard over the Berlin radio. When the Japan entered the World War, Subhash left for Japan. He went to Singapore and took over the leadership of Indian independence movement. Subhash went to the Southeast Asia and organized the Indian National Army to fight against British. The Indian soldiers and civilians at once declared their allegiance to him and began to call him Netaji. He gave them the inspiring call of Jai Hind and Dilli Chalo. While launching the war, Netaji went on air on July 6, 1944 and sought Gandhiji's blessings in the following words. Father of our nation, in this holy war of India's liberation, we ask for your blessings and good wishes. The INA fought so well that it soon liberated about 3,200 square kilometers of Indian territory from the well entrenched British army. But it was soon beset by various difficulties such as lack of communication and food and rigorous of the monsoon and breakdown in supplies. On the other hand, the Japanese forces were withdrawn as the war went badly for them. But the INA refused to retreat, with the result that thousands of the soldiers were captured by the British forces. They were disarmed and court martialed. Jawaharlal Nehru himself organized and conducted their defense. Ultimately, the government released them. Netaji boarded a Japanese aircraft for Tokyo on August 18, 1945. The plane landed in Formosa at noon, and according to the Japanese sources, it caught fire while taking off. Netaji was badly burnt, but managed to come out of the plane. He was rushed to the hospital where he died the same night. It is amazing how much Subhash Chandra Bose was able to achieve and accomplish in his life of 48 years. He was a brilliant student and could have easily attained a high position of power as an ICS officer, but he preferred a life of trials and tribulations as a fighter for his country's freedom. His proud and independent spirit mocked at ill health and ill fortune. He was the doer as well as the thinker and the fighter who never submitted to defeat. In life, he was a natural leader of men who inspired immense devotion and loyalty. In death, he became a legend. People refuse to believe that Netaji is dead. Perhaps they are right, for martyrs never die. Please like, share, and subscribe and save the playlist. Thank you very much. Bye bye.